Welcome to this postnatal or postpartum yoga sequence. My name is Amy Landry, and I'm really honored to guide you through this practice in this very precious time. I want to start by saying to you, perhaps you've heard of the saying or the quote, which is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And what this is really referring to within this context is that just because you feel like you might be ready to move doesn't mean you should be. Okay, so a yoga practice or any form of exercise in the postnatal period might feel quite okay in the moment in your body. However, you might find that the next day it's actually not so great, or perhaps that repeated impact compounding together over time might actually result in some concerns. So the reason why I say this to you is that no matter who you are or your birth experience, it's really, really important to wait until you are at least 12 weeks postpartum since you gave birth before you conduct yourself in any kind of exercise or movement. If you had a cesarean section, I would personally advise you to wait longer and to absolutely have medical clearance from your doctor. It may also be worth checking in with a highly experienced yoga teacher in your area, particularly seeking out one that may be qualified in prenatal and postnatal, and certainly someone who's also a mother themselves, because they really have an understanding as to what's going on in the body. I remember when I gave birth to our little boy, I was tight, I was stiff, I was just craving something so desperately. And I was on the floor in his room one day and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to stretch out my hamstrings and come into a downward facing dog pose. And literally as soon as I came into the pose, I immediately came out of it because I felt like all of my internal organs were about to vomit out of my mouth. That was the feeling. And it's going to be different for everybody, but that was a very clear indication that my body and my organs were like, no, we are not ready yet. Even though otherwise I felt like I really needed it. So please listen to your body. Please be really gentle with yourself. Please be careful. Of course, if you have a lot of prior yoga experience, you may be able to start sooner rather than later. But again, I had been practicing yoga for well over a decade, even right up until, the day before I gave birth, including abdominal work and inversions and quite strong practices. And yet still at that 6 to 8 week mark, I was absolutely nowhere near ready, and I was blessed to have a really beautiful vaginal birth at home. Again, so no complications or contraindications as such, but it just wasn't right at the time. So I share this with you just to help you really analyze whether or not you are really truly ready, and if you're not sure, please reach out to a professional. You're going to want to have a strap or a belt or even a scarf for the practice, and ideally a couple of blocks. They're not required as such, but you could find some makeshift blocks and have whatever else that you may need, a layer of clothing if you think your body temperature will drop at the end. So I hope that you really enjoy this practice. It is a sequence that is essentially going to be generally safe for all women, no matter, again, your birth experience, whether you had a vaginal birth or a cesarean, for example. There are certainly more poses you could be doing beyond these if you had a vaginal birth that you would be absolutely avoiding if you had a cesarean birth, which is why I'm omitting those poses completely from this practice so that it's safe for all and all pregnancies and all labor situations. So thank you again, and please share with all the women that you know who would benefit from this, because it's very hard to get out the door in those first few weeks and months, and so having something at home is really precious. So please do let your dear beloved friends, sisters, colleagues know about this opportunity that they can practice from home. Enjoy again. Thank you. We're going to begin our practice standing. So coming onto your mat. And as we move into postnatal practices, we want to begin to move our feet together as opposed to prenatal practices where we move the feet apart, giving more space. So starting to cultivate a sense of containment and stability is really the essence of a postnatal practice. This may not quite feel stable for you just yet, so it's absolutely fine to stand with the feet sitting bone distance apart. Just know that over time you want to start to bring the body inward, bring the legs and feet inward to have that real direct experience of containment and strength. Yeah. So either feet together or sitting bone distance apart, arms by your side, lifting the chest. Let the tailbone lengthen. We're going to begin with a really nice hasta vinyasa sequence. So moving the arms, shoulders, creating mobility in that area, which gets a lot of tension through either breastfeeding, bottle feeding, carrying your baby, maybe carrying another child, a toddler around at the same time. So in this practice, we're going to mobilize all that stiffness and tension, as well as obviously addressing the rest of the body. So if you don't mind, I'm going to turn my back to you and do this practice just so you can see better. Okay, standing tall, tailbone long, breathing through your nose. If you are familiar with the Ujjayi practice of breathing, you want to engage that here to extend the duration of breath. And just find your center of gravity here. Notice the distribution of weight through the front and the back of the feet. Feel the subtle lift of the pubic bone, which is stabilizing that lower abdominal area. This is a really key practice that you want to integrate continuously. So tailbone long, pubic bone lifting, but no struggle with the breath. Okay. Exhale completely. And let's begin. A deep breath in, arms to the sky. Interlacing the fingers over the top of the head, palms to the sky here. And exhaling, release the arms. Contract the belly, navel to spine. Press all the breath out. Again, deep breath in. And this time, cup the hands at the base of the skull. Exhale. Lower the chin and press the elbows wide. Reverse. Inhale the arms up. And this time, exhale, hands to the shoulder blades and bring the elbows in, up and back. Interlace the fingers. Inhale. And exhale, sweep the arms gently down by your sides. Inhaling, arms up. Keeping the tailbone long, exhale, side bend to the right. Just nice and easy here. Legs firm. Inhale to center. Keeping the pubic bone lifted, exhale to the left. Inhaling up. And exhale, sweep the arms out and down, and then catching the elbows behind the back if you can. Perhaps also a reverse prayer position, either or. Elbows back, inhale, look up, and lifting the chest ever so slightly, tailbone down. And exhale, come back to center, stand tall and lower the chin all the way down to the chest. Two more, same thing. Inhale, lift the chest, open the collarbones. And exhale, coming back onto center. Keep the tailbone long. Inhale. So it's a really subtle back bend. Exhale. Chin lowering all the way down. Inhale, gaze forward. And exhale, softly release the arms down by your sides. And then continuing, inhale the arms up, interlace the fingers overhead again, same thing. And then this time, as you exhale, circle the arms around, out and around, and cupping the hands out in front of you, emptying the breath. Reverse that movement, inhale. And then exhale the arms forward, down, and out to the sides. Inhale the arms forward, interlace fingers, arms to the sky. And exhale, float the arms down softly, calmly, contract the belly, pubic bone lifting. Close your eyes for a moment, pause, continuing to breathe through the nose. opening the eyes. Let's take Utkatasana at the wall. So find a wall space and bring your back onto the wall, and then walk the feet forward and come down into chair pose. So ideally, remember, feet are together and knees are together. If your feet are apart, the knees are apart. And then very important here is to lift the pubic bone. So you'll feel the lower back pressing into the wall. So the lower back broadens across the wall. There's that subtle stabilization of the lower belly. The shoulders are relaxed, the face is soft, the toes are passive. So starting to challenge the strength in the legs with that really nice back support. Again, notice what's happening in the lower back. Keep the lower back broad. Try not to catch tension in that lumbar region. Keep the pubic bone lifting. Notice the intensity bubble up. Stay with your breath. And then very calmly use the support of the wall and push yourself away and come all the way up to standing. Okay, well done. Come back onto the mat and we'll come into triangle pose, Trikonasana. So step the feet open wide, just as a guide, feet approximately under your hands, right toes out, left toes in. Okay, so I'll mirror you. Right toes out, left toes in, open the pelvis, open the chest, and then reaching outward to the side as far as you can, and then take the hand down and gazing up. If it's not comfortable, you can gaze forward or down. But firming the legs. Now tailbone should press toward your left heel, press down to the back heel. The pubic bone subtly draws toward the chest. So remember that abdominal stability. Turning open from the waist. Plugging down through the ball of the right big toe. And then come on up. Change sides. Right toes in, left toes out. Open the pelvis and chest. Reaching, lengthening. Take the hand down. You don't have to go super low, so don't over-exert yourself. Gazing up if comfortable. So firming the legs. Now remember, press the tailbone down toward right heel, the back heel. Lengthening lower back, drawing pubic bone gently to the chest. Wrapping open from the waist, from the abdomen. Plug down through the base of the left big toe. This will make you far more stable, strong. And inhale, come up. Okay, turn the toes in. We're going to come into side angle pose, Pashwakonasana. So you could do it on the center of your mat, but you can also really use the assistance of a wall space. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can join me or you can stay on your mat. Okay, you'll leave the feet open wide. And right toes out, left toes in. And left foot or left heel would be pressing up against a wall. Okay, in the base of the wall. So from here, bend the knee, come down. Heel is pressing into the wall, pelvis is open. And then modify, elbow to thigh, and arm up and over the head with the palm down. So I'm really driving my heel into the wall, getting extra support, and containing my right sitting bone. So I'm wrapping the right side of the buttocks in and under, stabilizing that outer hip, bringing some action and strength into that outer hip. And release and come on up. So if you're in the middle of the mat, just swivel the feet around. If you're at the wall, you'll have to turn around. Taking the right heel up to the wall. Okay, opening the pelvis, opening the arms, coming down. So pelvis broad, and then from here, elbow to thigh, arm over the head if you can. Again, driving that heel into the wall, so utilizing that wall support. Okay, and then firming the straight leg, wrapping the left side of the buttocks in and underneath you. Remember, looking for that stabilization through the outer hip. and gently release. And then come on up. Bring the feet gently back together, finding Tadasana. And now, using that strength and stability we've created through the hips, let's move into Vrikshasana tree pose. So again, I'll mirror you. Right foot to your ankle, calf muscle, or avoiding the knee, coming to the upper inner thigh. Hands to a prayer position. Take the gaze outward, find steadiness. Of course, you can use a wall or a chair to put your hands on for balance if you'd like to. And then remember the tailbone is long, the pubic bone lifts, and then start again to squeeze the right side of the buttocks. Bring some action, strength into that outer hip. And as the pubic bone lifts, the lower belly stabilizes. Breath is calm. And then very gently release. Okay, reset the feet. The beautiful thing about most of this practice is you can do it with bub around at your feet, maybe sleeping or crawling around. So feel free to stop and start as you need to though, naturally. Planting that left foot to the ankle, calf muscle or thigh. Finding that prayer position, Anjali Mudra, lifting the sides of the heart. Decompress your spine. So to decompress the spine, it's not only the crown of the head ascending, but the tailbone is anchoring down, pubic bone lifts. Start to grip and activate that outer left hip buttock area. Strengthen it. Keep the face soft, breathing through the nose. And then calmly release and let it go. We're going to go back to a wall space. And of course, if you can't use a wall, if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. We're going to take Virabhadrasana 1 or Warrior 1 with a twisting variation. So what we'll do is we'll take right foot forward and left foot back. So if your right leg is forward, your right leg needs to be closest to the wall. So whichever leg is forward, that's the leg that's closest to the wall. Ground the back heel by turning the back foot out ever so slightly. Descend into the front leg. Lift the spine. So then begin to twist toward the wall, popping the hands anywhere you like on the wall, and use it. Use the wall to take you deeper into the rotation. Keep the back leg firm, try not to disturb the back foot. As you inhale, create length. And as you exhale, perhaps rotating a little more deeply. And release. And then if you've got the space, you just swivel around to the other side. Turning the back foot out, grounding the heel, not too much. Turning it out enough to get the heel down, no more. Descend into the front thigh, and then rotating to face the wall. Placing the hands wherever it feels natural and useful. Back heel stays grounded. Firm the back thigh. As you inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, perhaps deepening. And release. So take it easy. Casually bring the feet back together. Come onto the mat. And this is where you're going to need to get a couple of blocks, ideally. You can do this in front of a desk or a bench, or you can do it with your hands on your hips if you like, but it is a little more dynamic if you've got hands on your hips. Pashwakonasana, often called pyramid pose. So a forward fold, standing at the top of your mat, and we'll step the left foot back. Ground the heel very much like the previous pose. Turn the back foot out minimally. Placing the hands either side of the foot on blocks, tall height. All right, so take that support, come forward, and now encourage the left hip to come with you. So I've got my right foot in front, and I'm rolling my left hip forward without disturbing the back foot. And then keep the chest long, so open the collarbones, gaze toward the right big toe, plug the ball of the right big toe into the floor, and press that left inner thigh backward. Right hip pins in and pulls back. Just really try to bring some spaciousness into the backs of the knees, where you're probably holding a lot of tension right now. All right, so just release as it feels natural, perhaps a little bend in the front knee, coming up. We'll change sides. Left foot forward. Right leg back, grounding the back heel. Bringing the right hip with you, coming onto the blocks. So once you're stable and still, you can make those little refinements. You can really check in with yourself, which is why doing a quite steady, still, slow yoga practice is incredibly important during the postnatal period, because you give yourself time to pay attention, just to sense and cultivate that deeper sensitivity and awareness in the body, how things have changed. Right hip is coming with you, remember. Right inner thigh presses back strongly, plug down through the ball of the left big toe. All right, hands to the waist, come on up carefully. Release front knee, step back foot forward. And you can put your blocks aside if you use them. Create your space again. Okay, so you have the option here to go back to the wall for a variation of Ardha Uttanasana. Another addition to enhance the pose is to grab a block and you can wedge it up between the thighs, quite high near the groin. I'll show you what that looks like. You can even get a nice thick book and do it as well, okay? So you might waddle yourself over to a wall. It's a very similar shape to downward dog as well. This is teaching us to help bring the body back in, create that quality of containment. And then approximately hands are around the hips. Hands stay on the wall. Palms flat. And just coming into the forward bend. So the arms are straight and you're hugging onto that block. You don't want to drop it, especially one of these cork blocks. They're heavy. Allow the back of the rib cage to soften. Try to still encourage the pubic bone to draw toward the sternum and the thighs press back. So you can also do this with your hands on your kitchen bench, your dining table, your desk. And gazing forward, and then coming up, just shuffle the feet forward, don't lose that block. Grab it out, pop it aside. And then from here, just for half a minute, stand with the feet about sitting bone distance, no wider than that, and we'll prepare to come forward into Uttanasana, or you can take it deeper into Parangustasana if you feel you really want to activate a strong, deep hamstring stretch. So coming forward and down, and either for Parangustasana, using your peace fingers to hook onto your big toes, go between big toe and second toe. Chest is long on the inhalation, and then exhale to fold, and elbows point out nice and wide. Now if that's too strong, just catch the elbows and hang forward gently. Wherever you are, release the hands. Chin to chest, bend the knees generously, roll up to standing. No rush. Okay, so let's come down to a seated position. I highly recommend using the wall. If you've had a cesarean section, you may like to skip the next position and perhaps the following one as well. But we're using the wall or even the seat of a chair for some support to modify the pose. So we're coming into Navasana, boat pose. Come to facing the wall or maybe a chair. And you'll keep the knees and the legs bent and bring the feet onto a wall. So we're challenging the abdominals. You might even be here with your hands on the floor. So if you come into this position, lift the chest. See how it feels. And if you want to take it a little further, extending the arms. Okay, shoulders relaxed, face relaxed. You know, and breath by breath, you could encourage more challenge by taking more and more of the feet off the wall. Okay, but again, just take it easy. Last couple of breaths. So we're retraining the abdominals to become stronger in a way that's not aggressive, as the body is still moving and changing and returning. Okay, and relaxing, taking some support and releasing the legs. Okay, and now you'll need to grab a strap, definitely, or even like a really long sock or a scarf if you don't have a strap at home. And wrapping that around the balls of the feet. So this is called, it's a variation of Parangustasana. So again, it works the extension of the legs, releases tension through the back of the legs, but works the abdominal area as well in a way that's not too aggressive. Okay, so holding onto each end of the strap around the balls of the feet, and then slowly begin to extend your legs and then lift the chest. It's okay if the legs are not perfectly straight. Use as much length of the strap as you need. If the legs are straight, press the thighs. Try not to throw the head back. Let the chest lift through. So bring the back ribs in, lift the heart high. Breathe. And just as important here is your control as you exit or descend out of the pose. All right, and then keep that strap handy. And we'll come to lay down for Parangustasana now. So a single leg extension lying on the back. You're welcome to take support under your head with a blanket. And let's start with the right leg, extending right leg to the sky. So wrapping the strap around the ball of the foot. Back of the neck long. And then extend the left leg. So don't over-exaggerate pulling the foot to the face, and instead push the foot up into the resistance of the belt. Even if you can go deeper, if you're quite flexible, try just to back off about 10-20%. Think of spreading the backs of the knees, left inner thigh pressing to the floor strongly, lower back broad, inner heels of both feet lengthening away. Releasing. Changing legs. Left knee in. Belt around the ball of left foot and extending the leg. Right leg extends out. Imagine you are standing on that right leg, so keep it firm and strong. Back of the neck long. Tailbone long. Lower back broad. Firm the thighs, so pushing away through the inner heels. Thighs press, opening, spreading the backs of the knees. Letting go of any tension through your mouth or your jaw. belt aside, bending both knees. If you wanted to, you could bring both of them into the chest. And from here, come on up. So I'm going to get you to find one of your 2 blocks. We're going to sit in a pose called Pashwakonasana. It's a tongue twister. And you're going to come to kneeling. Take your block at whatever level you need. You might need a bolster, you might need a blanket or 2 blocks. So this may be far too strong for you. So sit on more and more height as you need to. So popping some support under the buttocks. Thighs are together and touching. And left leg extends. Again, thighs together. And then if you can, I would recommend shifting whatever's under the buttocks slightly to the left, the same direction as your straight leg. So right now there's actually no prop. There's nothing under my right sitting bone. So that enables that right hip just to drop into that space more comfortably. Yeah? And again, ideally thighs are touching. If they're not, it's generally an indication you need to sit higher up. Yeah? Pressure on the feet, same thing, sit higher. Grab your strap, wrap it around the ball of the foot. Lengthen the chest. This is a strong one. There's a small percentage of the population that feels really comfy here, but for most of us, not so. So being upright may be plenty. And if you have a little range, you can come forward as you like. Try not to just come forward by hunching and collapsing the chest. The left inner thigh presses down slightly. And just know that if this is an absolute no-go, it just doesn't feel good on your bent knee, you could come out of the position and open the knee so the bent leg is open in Utkatasana, so externally rotated. It's perfectly fine. Okay, let's come on up. Remove the strap, bend the straight leg, bring the foot flat to the floor. So let's use this position and come into an easy twist. So when I say easy, I just mean take it easy, be gentle. Left hand behind you, a closed twist, gazing past the back shoulder. And releasing. Okay, let's change sides, change legs. So bring the right leg out in front of you. You'll need to shift your props aside to the right. Bend the left leg. If you can, bring the thighs together and touching. Make sure there's nothing under the left sitting bone so it's clear that hip can descend. Grab your strap, set it up. Chest lifting. Staying upright if it's plenty for you. And if you have the mobility, you could come forward a little more deeply. Do keep that straight leg centered. So sometimes, in some people, it can just kind of collapse open. So keep that right inner thigh guiding down. Okay, come on up. Belt aside for the moment. Bend that straight leg. Bring the foot flat and coming into the twist. Right hand behind. That could be on the floor, block, bolster, wherever you need. A nice easy twist. So use the inhale to lengthen. And the exhale to deepen, involving the neck. And release the twist. Okay, come to kneeling again. You're going to essentially bring both legs now into Virasana. So it may well be that you now need more height. You might need 2 blocks, you might need a bolster, you might need to now get that folded towel or blanket, get a lot of height under the sitting bones if there's any sensitivity in the knees or a lot of pressure in the ankles. If at the end of the day you can just come to a seated cross-legged position if worse comes to worse, so it's no problem at all. Modify accordingly. And we'll come into Gomukasana with the arms. So you're going to feed your right arm up the back, wriggle your right arm as high up the back as you possibly can, and then take the left arm up and over. Now if you can't reach, you can always feed a belt down behind the back, as so. Okay. I'm just going to swivel around and face you. So make sure the head is centered. There's a real common temptation to distort the head position. Tailbone long, anchoring the tailbone back and down. Pubic bone lifting. So again, find that ever so subtle but incredibly important abdominal stability. Let's change sides. Release the arms. So remember, I'm mirroring you here. So take the left arm up the back, right arm up and over. Take your strap over the upper arm shoulder if you need to use it. Take the tailbone back and down, pubic bone lifting, so be careful. So easy to arch and contract the lower back here. Head centered. Try to contain the elbows, so notice where they're pointing. Ideally it's straight up and down rather than out on a diagonal. And opening up any and all of that tension through the chest and shoulders here. And if you're not feeling it yet, you certainly will very soon. So just savoring this opportunity to breathe into this place. Okay, release the arms. All right, and we'll come out of this leg position. Keep a block within reach, close by. And then come to sit with your feet flat on the floor, arms behind you. This is a modified Pashwakonasana or tabletop position. Palms open, very wide. Ground the feet, lifting the sides of the chest, lowering the chin, maintaining that relationship. Pushing into the feet, lift the hips up high. Keep the gaze forward. Try not to throw the head back. So yes, it's a strong one. Keep the face relaxed. Observe intensity, sensation, without necessarily reacting to it. Breathing through the nose. And then lightly come down. All right, and come to lay down on the back. Keep the feet flat on the floor. And we'll prepare to come up into bridge pose. Arms by your side, back of the neck long, head centered. Walk the heels in nice and close to the buttocks. Separate the feet. Okay, come on up. Push into the feet, roll up, lift the buttocks, lift the middle back, lift the upper back. Tuck the shoulders deeply underneath you. Maybe you can reach to clasp hands or the heels. It's definitely not essential. And now press the shoulders, lift the sternum to the chin. Relax the jaw. Press the inner heels down and lift the tailbone strongly. Upper back rising, tailbone rising. Last breath in. And very calmly unraveling. So upper back, middle back, and then make sure the lower back touches the floor before the pelvis. And pause. Prepare to come up again. And this time we'll take the block for support. So if for some reason at home you didn't have a block, you could come up and do an active pose. Again, same thing, repeating, maybe one or two more times. But otherwise maybe a makeshift block at home, all right? But come on up, grab that block and use it either at the medium level, or if you have the mobility and the depth in your practice, take the block to the highest level. You can also use your two blocks at the low level each, stacked one on top of the other, and bring them underneath you. So you're placing the block. This is so important if you've not done this before. The block is down near the tailbone. It's not under the lower back at all, okay? Right down near the base of the buttocks. My general recommendation is if you're taking the block at the absolute tallest height, it is going to run lengthways with your spine. If you're taking the block at the medium level, it's going horizontally across the pelvis. Keeping the feet grounded. If it feels better, you could take the feet a little wider to the edges of your mat. Letting the eyes close. There is an ever so slight, subtle lift of the pubic bone toward the chest, a lengthening of the tailbone toward the back of the knees, which brings the abdomen softly in and down. And then pushing into the feet, lifting the hips, reach under, remove your block, and calmly roll down. Again, try to get the lower back on the floor before the pelvis. And let the knees rest inward in a knock-kneed position and rest. We do have a little bit more work to do before Shavasana. So whenever it feels okay to do so in your body, let's come to seated. If the hips are particularly tight or you have any knee concerns, you're going to want to sit on a blanket or even like a meditation cushion. And you'll need, ideally, a block here. So I'm sitting on what's called a three-fold blanket. But really any blanket will do. If you're particularly tight, then sit on a bolster. Yeah? Okay. So Badakanasana in the legs. You're going to place your block in between the soles of the feet. Soles of the feet on the block. Bring the feet in. Sit right on the edge of your blanket or your support under the buttocks. Interlace the fingers or reach as best as you can to clasp around your block. The knees will feel significantly higher here. Okay, so that's totally normal. Lift the chest, and then I want you to start to press the knees out and away. So you've got to lengthen from the inner thigh groin out to the inner knee, but then contract the outer knee and pull it back into the outer hip. So there's almost like this circular action going on, yeah? Continuously. So push the feet into the block and press the knees outward and away. Keep the chest lifted. Nice, easy breathing. So the point here is to really activate that stabilization and strength through the outer hips as the pelvis continues to shift back into its pre-pregnancy position. Okay, relax the effort, relax the arms, remove your block, pop it aside. Okay, bring the soles of the feet together. Same pose with no block. Only briefly holding the feet. You may let the feet open like the pages of a book here because there's no block anymore, that's fine. Holding onto your feet and then start to activate the outer hips. You'll notice the knees will very likely move down and away with a lot more ease. That circular action still applies. Inner thigh lengthening outward to the inner knee, and the outer knee draws in to the outer hip. No strain in the breath. And then relax the effort and let it go. Support the knees, close them in carefully. Okay, and coming off your support, it's time to lay down and take Shavasana, take rest. You may wish to have a blanket under the head, okay, or perhaps some weight on top of the body like a blanket or a bolster or nothing at all. You might like an eye pillow or the end of your strap resting softly over your eyes. It's up to you. So let's come to lie down and take a couple of minutes rest. It'll only be brief. If you have more time at home, you might like to pause the recording. Know that it's perfectly fine if you fall asleep. It's very likely that you need it. So as you lay back, lengthen the tailbone, palms open, fingertips softly curling to their natural position, closing the eyes, withdrawing the sense of sight. Allow your eyes to recede. Release the back teeth, the mouth. And observing where you might be holding habitual pockets of tension. Allow your legs to fall heavy, your arms to be heavy, surrendering all effort. Moving into quietude. Breath is ever so subtle. Allow yourself to let go. Allow your hands to fold in and rest onto the belly. may bend into both knees, rolling over to rest on your right hand side. Stay for a couple of breaths. And pressing down, coming up to a seated position. Take support if you need to. We'll finish with a short little Pranayama Breath practice of Nadi, alternate nostril breathing. Closing the eyes if you open them, sitting tall. Just relish in the steadiness. Bring the right hand up to the nose, right thumb rests on the right nostril, ring finger on the left. Index and middle can tuck in or point to the Utkatasana, the third eye space. Keep the chest lifted but lower the chin slightly. Through both nostrils, exhale completely. Close the right and take a deep breath in through the left. Close left, exhale right, nice and slow. Contracting the belly. Right side, inhale. Left side, exhaling. Try to control and slow down that exhalation breath. So that's one round. We'll do two more. Left side, inhale. Right, exhaling. Contract the belly, navel back to spine, pubic bone lifting. Right side, inhale. Left, exhale. Last round, left side, inhale. Exhale, right. Inhale, right. Exhale, left. And releasing the hand, keep the eyes closed. Return to a natural breath through both nostrils. Observing, acknowledging the effects on the nervous system and your mind. Sealing our practice by sealing the palms together to Anjali Mudra in front of the heart, lifting through the chest but lowering the forehead humbly down with reverence, gratitude, grace, and deep appreciation for this body and this breath and this ever precious window of time. And may you carry this little piece of serenity with you for the rest of your day or evening. Thank you so very much for your energy and presence.